Hi, I'm Chris Younts. I grew up north of San Angelo on an irrigated stock farm. I've been married to my wife Tara for nearly 27 years, and I have two grown children, Matt and Mandy. I've been involved in the cattle business and have a pecan orchard over in Comanche County. I spent 11 years as an engineer on the San Angelo Fire Department until a bull and I had an argument over going in a trailer one day, and he won. And when I got out of the hospital, I left that career, and now I concentrate on an independent insurance agency there in San Angelo. You know, I'm just a country boy from West Texas. I mispronounce words and I get a little tongue-tied sometimes. Sometimes I stutter. I revert to my West Texas dialect, and I'll say things like them instead of those, or don't instead of doesn't. But I do not claim to be a polished speaker. But I'll tell you what, for anybody that wants to see it, I do have a birth certificate. I was a co-founder of the San Angelo Tea Party. And until a few months ago, I was just an ordinary businessman in the small West Texas town where I grew up. I was just doing my best to be a good husband, to be a good father, and to be a good employer. Now here I am today telling you that I want to represent you in Washington. You know, to be perfectly honest, I love the life I have north of San Angelo, and I would be happy to spend out the rest of my days just going home, locking my gate, sitting on the front porch with my wife, petting my dog, drinking a glass of iced tea, and wondering when it's going to rain again. You know, just enjoy the sounds of dusk in rural West Texas where I grew up, and I think is one of the best places on earth. But you know, I feel I can no longer stand by and watch what is happening in our great country. You know, I will not stand by and watch our freedom and our children's freedom be taken away. Yes, sir. As a lifelong Republican, I believe in the Republican platform, and I think we have a good platform, and I'm running as a Republican. So I'd like to read you something from that platform. We do not support government bailouts of private institutions. Government interference in the markets exacerbates problems in the marketplace and causes the free market to take longer to correct itself. Yet my current Republican representative, Mike Conway, voted for the unconstitutional TARP bailout against the will of us, his constituents, and more importantly, against the very core principles of the Republican Party: limited government, free markets, and fiscal responsibility. Also from our 2008 platform, earmarking must stop. To eliminate wasteful projects and payoffs to special interests, we will impose an immediate moratorium on the earmarking system. Amen. Yet according to Taxpayers for Common Sense, my current representative in 2008 and 2009 requested more in earmarks than Barney Frank did. You know, now we as Republicans, we will either stand on these principles that we espouse, or in fact, we have no principles. We cannot fight to stop further government intrusion into our private institutions when we have lost the credibility of what we stand for. We must say what we mean and mean what we say. Hurrah! You know, today our fiscal house is on fire, and our children's freedom is in peril because of it. You know, the TARP bailout was like throwing gasoline on a raging house fire. First banks and insurance companies, then automakers, then stimulus, and now the attempted takeover of health care. You know, we Americans instinctively knew that the TARP bailout would open the floodgates to the government intrusion into all our private sector. But we were ignored, even by our own representative. You know, our leaders today, ideas of conservatism are something I saw a lot in the fire department. Invariably, when you pull up on a raging house fire, there's someone standing in the front yard with the water hose hollering, "Our house is on fire! Our house is our house was on fire, and we tried to tell our representatives that in tea parties and in town halls all across this nation. You know, the way you put out a fire, let's call it, the fire truck pulls up. Let's call it We the People's fire truck. Now, we have a big fire, and to put out a big fire, you need a big hose. And we have a big hose on We the People's fire truck, and it's called the Constitution. And what we need are leaders that are willing to go get the big hose of the Constitution off that fire truck, pull it through that front yard, push the people with the garden hoses out of the way, kick the door open, and get in there and put out this fiscal fire that our house is. You know, I've done that many times, and I'm not afraid of going in a house fire and putting out the house fire. And I'm not afraid to take the Constitution and go up there in Washington and use it to put out this fiscal fire. You know, in Ecclesiastes 3:1-8, everything has a season and a time. There's a time to be born and a time to die, a time to sow and a time to reap. You all know the verses as well as I do. I believe today in America there is a changing season and a time. You know, it's a time to go back to adherence to our Constitution in spirit as well as in letter. The only time that we hear about our Constitution anymore is when it is used to beat us over the head about the rights of some criminal, some terrorist, or the separation of church and state. Court rulings like Santa Fe versus Doug. You know what? When they tell us that we can't pray at a Friday night football game in West Texas, it's time for us to stand up and fight, folks. My Constitution begins, we the people of the United States. It does not begin, we the people of the United Nations, nor we the people of the global community. For the reinstatement of U.S. sovereignty in the world. It's subjecting our nation to agreements made by the United Nations, International Monetary Fund, or World Bank, really in the citizens of the United States' best interest. It's a time to quit apologizing for and criticizing our nation abroad. Despite what President Obama and others think, our national security interests do not include a world popularity contest. Yeah.